Are you struggling with hot flashes, hair thinning, or weird perimenopause symptoms? What if I told you iron plays a crucial role here, but it may not be in the way that you think? Hi, I'm Kate McDowell from Alliance Natural Health, and women with perimenopause symptoms is something that I often see when clients come in with me. And these women come in and they say they're frustrating because they're eating well, they're taking supplements, maybe even iron, but things aren't improving. And this might be something that you can relate with as well. It's definitely something that I experienced in the past, and I know how frustrating it can be. So let's talk about why too much iron or misplaced iron could actually be making things worse for you. We've all been told that iron is crucial for women, especially during perimenopause. But here's the problem: many women aren't actually low in iron. Shocking. I know. They have iron that's stuck in the wrong places, like in their tissues, instead of being used properly in the bloodstream like it should be. So you may go in for blood work and your doctor says, "Oh, you have low ferritin or your iron levels are really low." And so the solution is iron pills, which often just cause constipation and don't really make things a lot better, or iron infusions, which again, often clients will come in and their iron blood iron levels will go up substantially after that, but it doesn't last. And this is because the body's not actually moving iron properly. This can trigger things like oxidative stress, which is basically rust happening in your body and stagnation. And so the body's going to try and find ways to get iron moving. I talked a lot last week about heavy periods, and this is an area that the body can use as well. And in my opinion, this is one of the reasons that women live longer than men is because we do have a monthly cycle. So we are able to detox excess minerals or toxicity like iron toxicity on a regular basis, and men aren't because they don't have this monthly bleed. And so when there's stagnant iron, it can trigger things, like I said, like oxidative stress, like inflammation and hormone imbalances as well, which can lead to some of the very symptoms that we just blame on menopause, perimenopause itself. And a normal part of aging is something that I've heard from a doctor. I've heard maybe it's all in your head. I've heard a long list of the things that we can hear, but it's not actually helping resolve the problem or with what you're dealing with. So, when you're dealing with hot flashes, iron that isn't moving properly creates oxidative stress, as I said, which ramps up inflammation and messes with estrogen metabolism. So, this leads to more intense hot flashes. It's like having a car engine that's overheating because oil isn't circulating properly. The car is trying to get things moving in the system. Your body is trying to get things moving in your system as well. And so, this can be heavy periods. This also can be hot flashes. And the thing is, when the heavy periods aren't doing an effective job, this is where the hot flashes will come in. Basically, that road is closed or it's blocked and it's not functioning well. So the body tries to find other ways. And so hot flashes is a common one that I often see with clients. And it leads to other problems as well. I know it's embarrassing. Heavy periods are embarrassing. Hot flashes can be embarrassing too, especially when it's around stressful situations. It's around going on camera. It's around meeting with clients. These are the times when these things really come up because the body's in a stress state. And even more so, it's trying to get things moving because we use minerals a lot when we're in a stress state. Another thing that we often see when iron's not moving properly in the body is things like hair thinning and shedding. Your hair needs oxygen, and iron is supposed to help deliver oxygen. But when it's stuck and stagnant in your tissues, it's not able to do that. And so, if it's not moving and it's not bioavailable for your body to be able to use it, your follicles, your hair follicles won't get what's needed. And so, this is where the hair thinning and the hair shedding can be pretty extreme for women through perimenopause because the body is desperately trying to get things moving, and your hair is just not a priority. So, if it needs other areas for the minerals to be present, hair is not going to be the main priority. It's just telling you that there's something deeper going on. Copper also plays a crucial role here, especially when it comes to the movement of iron. When iron's ability to be able to move oxygen, copper helps move iron where it belongs and supports collagen, which is crucial for strong hair. Another one we'll talk about: brain fog and fatigue. Even if your blood work shows normal iron, you can still feel drained because your cells aren't getting the oxygen that they need. It's like having a fridge full of groceries and no way to cook them. Your body can't use what it has if it doesn't have the tools to get them there. So, what's getting in the way? Why does this happen? Understanding why iron gets stuck in the wrong places instead of being used properly is key to fixing the root issue here. Here are some major factors that disrupt iron's movement and contribute to perimenopause symptoms like hot flashes, like the hair loss and the fatigue. So, number one, too much stored iron from years of fortified foods and supplements. So, most women have been consuming fortified foods like cereal, like bread, like processed grains for decades. And these are fortified with non heme iron, so synthetic forms of iron that aren't really easily used by the body, and instead they get stored in our tissues. Also, prenatal vitamins and iron supplements can be problematic here because they're often recommended even more so when women aren't truly iron deficient. And this can add to the iron overload and make the problem worse. And the problem here is that stored iron creates oxidative stress. Like I said, it's like rust in the body, which leads to inflammation, hormone imbalance, and energy crashes. So, number two, not enough copper to regulate iron's movement. Copper is the key mineral that makes iron bioavailable, meaning it helps iron get to where it's actually needed. Without enough copper, iron gets stuck in tissues instead of being used to make healthy red blood cells. So many women are low in copper due to modern farming, poor diets, and high zinc intake. Zinc actually competes with copper in the body. And definitely through 2020 and beyond, we were promoted to be taking a lot of zinc supplementation, but it's not always about more. It's about how is your body balancing hormones or minerals and how is it regulating them. So pumping someone full of iron and pumping someone full of zinc, both of these are going to make it hard for copper to do what it's trying to do. And this is when your body has to store things in places where it's not actually useful. Another one that's really key to understand, and this is something that I didn't understand in the past either, but so glyphosate, which is found on all non-organic foods, fruits, vegetables, meats, like it's everywhere, even on organic. Organic doesn't mean no chemicals, it just means less chemicals. And glyphosate is the pesticide that we spray on crops and we spray on farms to prevent the bugs from destroying crops so that farmers get more yield. But glyphosate binds to copper. And so that makes it even harder for it to be absorbed from food. And so if you've been eating conventional produce, grains, or processed foods for years, you could have a copper deficiency without even knowing it, which makes the iron in excess even worse because the body can't use it. Without enough copper, iron builds up in the wrong places, which causes inflammation that worsens perimenopause symptoms like hot flashes, like fatigue, like hair loss, like extreme perimenopause, or sorry, PMS symptoms, mood swings, heavy periods, which I've been talking about for a couple weeks now. And so this is something that's really good to consider. And when it comes to, I'm going to get into some things that you can do for this, but trying to eat organic as much as possible is going to be very beneficial here as well. Number three, liver congestion. Liver congestion is also a problem that can make hot flashes worse and can make any of your symptoms worse because if the detox pathways are sluggish, the body's not going to be able to move things out the way that it's supposed to. Your liver plays a huge role in processing and moving iron, but it also has to detox estrogen, environmental toxins, stress hormones, chemicals, heavy metals, all of the things we come in contact with. Your liver literally has hundreds of jobs that it's doing every single day. It's actually like, I think, over 100 jobs that it's doing pretty much every minute. And so if liver's not functioning properly, it's not going to help with detoxing the iron and making sure that it's moving properly. When liver is overloaded, it can't regulate iron properly, which means excess builds up in the tissues instead of being used properly. Estrogen metabolism gets disrupted as well, which leads to hot flashes and the heavy periods. And then toxin buildup can trigger hair loss and inflammation. So liver toxicity and liver congestion is a really important thing to factor in as well. But all of these kind of play in synergy with each other. And this is why it's really important to understand that if there's something going on, if you go to your doctor and your blood work comes back and says your iron levels aren't where they want them to be, we need to dig deeper because there's so much more under the surface here that could explain why you're having the symptoms that you're having. And it's not as simple as just take more iron, and more iron pills can actually make things worse. Number four, also pharmaceutical medication can interfere with iron and copper. So, certain medications disrupt how the body absorbs and regulates minerals like iron and copper. This is things like antacids and acid blockers. So, people who have heartburn and acid reflux. A PPI is the medication that typically is used there, and that will reduce stomach acid, which makes it harder to absorb copper and properly regulate iron. Hormonal birth control is another one that can be really problematic here. It alters liver function and it affects how iron is actually stored and processed. Even synthetic vitamin D supplements can be problematic. It can throw off mineral balance and it can deplete magnesium and affect copper metabolism as well. And then antibiotics also can deplete beneficial gut bacteria, which plays a role in absorbing and utilizing key minerals like copper. And so, why this matters for perimenopause symptoms: when iron isn't moving properly due to these factors, it leads to more oxidative stress, which equals worse hot flashes, imbalanced estrogen, which equals heavier, more painful periods, poor circulation to hair follicles, which equals hair thinning and shedding, and less oxygen to the brain, which leads to brain fog and fatigue. So, what can you do? Instead of just adding more iron, the goal is to support the proper iron movement by getting more bioavailable copper. So, this could be from foods. I do often recommend, depending on what a client tests for, we test to see if adding a bioavailable copper supplement is helpful. But from foods, there are things you can do. So, things like beef liver is going to be high in copper in a usable form that the body can use. Shellfish, also really helpful for the copper side of things here. And then we also want to make sure that there's whole food vitamin C coming into your body. So this is not ascorbic acid. This is not the big bottle of vitamin C that all of us bought in 2020. I'm guilty of it as well because I didn't know any better at the time. And when you know better, you do better. And so the problem with ascorbic acid is that can actually uh, turn down the body's ability to utilize copper properly. So when we're looking for a vitamin C source, we want to make sure it's whole food because nature makes things in a complete form so that the body can properly use it. And so whole food vitamin C can be things like camu berry. There's acerola cherry. I think I'm trying to remember. There's a couple of them. If you go into a health food store, usually you can find bags of powder that are easy to add to shakes or to other beverages as well, so that you can get good quality vitamin C into your body because we need vitamin C to be able to support the adrenals in a way that they can actually use copper in the most beneficial way. We also want to support liver detox with bitter foods, clean water, and possibly natural detox support. This is something that I don't recommend someone does on their own. I know there are lots of detox kits that you can buy in pretty much any health food store, but working with a practitioner is really helpful here. Because as I mentioned, if your detox pathways aren't open, this is when people can feel really sick and not well when they're trying to do a detox on their own, because we want to make sure that everything in the body is draining properly. So the liver is functioning well, the kidneys are functioning well, your colon is working as it should be. We don't want to push toxins out through your skin or through other places where they're not meant to go. We want you to poop them out. And so drainage pathways is a really lymph also we need to make sure is moving. So we want to make sure that the body's functioning properly before we jump into a heavy detox of any sort. And then the last one is avoiding synthetic iron fortified foods and processed supplements that cause iron buildup. So the synthetic iron fortified foods, when was the last time you walked down the cereal aisle? A lot of the cereals in there will say fortified with iron. And I haven't tried it yet, but I've actually seen research that there are people that will add these to milk or to other liquids and then put a magnet in there. It's actually iron filings that they're putting into these foods to give them more dense iron content, but it's actually not something that the body can use. So that will end up in other areas in the body because the body's always trying to keep you safe. So if there's something in your system that doesn't belong there, the body will put it somewhere so that it doesn't end up in your brain or your organs or your glands or your reproductive system or areas where it can make you really sick and cause big problems. So, if you are someone who's struggling with hot flashes, hair loss, or fatigue, let's get to the root cause of this together. You can book a free screening with me today. I'll put the link in the comments to this video so you can find a time that works for you, and I'll help you figure out what's really going on with you and your iron balance and perimenopause symptoms as well. So, comment iron below if this hit home for you in some way, and reach out to me anytime if you need any support. This is one of those things that I see often with clients, and it's hard to see because I understand it. I've been there in the past, and I know how challenging it can be to go to the doctor. Your blood work keeps coming back as normal, and they make recommendations, but things don't actually get better. And so we need to dig deeper and figure out what's the root cause. What's causing you to not feel well? What's causing you to have the symptoms that you're having? And what does your body actually need to get back into balance so you can start functioning well again and feeling amazing? Perimenopause doesn't have to suck. Menopause symptoms are not necessary. People deal with them because their bodies aren't able to function the way they're supposed to. Adrenals are a really big factor to focus on. That's where the whole food vitamin C is very beneficial here. But adrenal support is really important going into menopause because in our reproductive years, our ovaries are the ones that are responsible for creating the sex hormones, for creating estrogen. And when you go through perimenopause or through perimenopause into menopause, your ovaries are basically like, bye, and go off into retirement and don't really have much of a job anymore, but you still need the ability to make estrogen. So this is where the adrenals step in and take on the job, and they already have a lot of jobs that they're in charge of. So if your adrenals are not properly supported going into menopause, this is when menopause will be a lot harder than if you do take the time and give them some attention leading up to that. This is one of the things that's very helpful with the hot flashes, with making sure that things are functioning properly, with making sure that there's not stuck weight that's really hard to get rid of as we go through perimenopause and menopause, is making sure that minerals are moving properly so that the body can find homeostasis and not is constantly trying to look for places to store things that it doesn't know how to deal with. So hopefully you found this useful. I'm Kate from Align Natural Health, and I will drop the link in the comments below for sure. Book a free screening with me. It's a great opportunity to have a conversation, figure out what's going on with you, what support does your body need, and how we can help you get back to feeling amazing. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.